For each of the following products, estimate the answer. Explain your reasoning, then multiply each set of numbers to see how close you were. So before we even do any multiplication, they do want us to estimate. So estimate means use some reasoning and explain that reasoning, and then later when we multiply, we're going to compare to see how close we are. So right now I'm going to do my estimation for each of them and explain my reasoning in words. So what you want to do is make sure you are pause the video and write your problems down, and the first part will be estimate. So for example A, it says 2 1/3, so in my head I'm going to think of the 2. It is close to a 2, not a 3. And then for 1 1/2, since the previous I went low, I'm going to go higher. So instead of 1 1/2, I'm going to say a 2, and I'm supposed to multiply. So my estimation is going to be about 4. Okay, so I went low on this one, but I went higher on this one for the next whole number, and then I'm saying my answer will be about 4. Now similarly, let's take a look at B. So this is just estimate. So the first number, 5.4, so I'm thinking of a 5, so I'm going on the low end. And for the second number, it says 3/4 after the 2, so it's closer to the next number, so I'm going to go with, what number do you think I'm going to go? I'm going to go up, so I'm going to go 3. So the answer for B should be close to 15. So I'm explaining my thinking, and that's what estimate is. So cutting off some of the numbers. If you cut from one, then you give to the other, and that way it balances at the end. But again, it's just an estimate. So do see on your own by pausing the video. Now let's actually do the work. So if I'm looking at example A, so I have a mixed number times a mixed number. So I have to decide, do I want to use the generic rectangle when I have those mixed numbers and using 2 plus 1/2 times 1 plus 1/2, so that's one idea, to draw the generic rectangle. Or the other idea is have them changed into a fraction. So the fraction of 2 1/2. So showing work, that's the meaning, but I need to put it over 1 and use a common denominator. So I'm using the same denominator and using the giant 1. So I have a 4/1 plus 1/2. So my first number is going to be 4/2. So that becomes 5/2. And then my second number, I want to do the work as well. So for the second number, I have 1 1/2 means 1 plus 1/2. So again, pause the video, try it on your own. So you're going to go 1/1 plus 1/2. So what would that fraction be? And then you could multiply those fractions by multiplying top number with the top and bottom with the bottom. If you do choose the generic rectangle, you need this is 2 by 2. So when you're drawing it, let's see, if I draw it, we'll have some space here. I would have space for the 2 and space for the 1/2 going horizontally, going vertically. So 2 by 2. Multiplication, here I have a 1 and a 1/2. So if I chose to do it this way, we need to find area or multiplying length times width. So here is 2 times 1, so that's going to be a 2. If I go this next rectangle, area on top says 2 times 1/2. So 1/2 times 2, or 2/1. So that's 2/2. So all together becomes a 1 whole. So you can do the work on the side. And then if you do that, you have to add all those numbers later. Add all areas later, or the numbers on the inside. So whether you're choosing this way or that way, at the end you should get exact same answer. So that's your choice. So pause the video and finish example A. Once you finish it, make sure your answer compare with the answer. We said the estimation should be near 4, so does your answer, how close is it? That's what they ask us. So that's what we're going to do for each problem. Now let's take a look at example B. The first one is a decimal, and we're not estimating, we're trying to decide what to do. And then the second number is a mixed number, right? So we have to make them look the same, so that, meaning the same look. So if I want to go with decimal, I should have a decimal times another decimal. So that's one idea. If I want to change them to fractions, then I would change, so I would have a fraction times a fraction. So either or, those are the two choices we have. So if we do a decimal, let's see, we need to convert 2 3/4 to a decimal. 2 is the whole number, so it's going to be 2 point. Okay, that's the whole number that we keep. But what is the decimal value of 3/4? So pause the video if you don't know what it is and divide 3 divided by 4. So the decimal value is 75/100, or think of the 3/4. So the first number is 5.4 times the second number is 2.75. So that's, now we have a decimal times a decimal, and not only that, we have 2-digit by 3-digit, right? So when you're doing your multiplication later at the end, so if you line them up, I would write 275 times 54. So when you line up the multiplication, you line up by the digits, and at the end you're gonna count, you have 3 decimal places all together, and you have the 15 to refer to. Okay, so it has to be around that number. If you do a generic rectangle, this is a 3-digit by 2-digit. Now check your multiplication with the calculator as well. Now if you want to go fraction times another fraction, we need to convert both. So we have that option that I talked about. So 5.4 is 54 are the digits, and it's 0.4, so it's in the place of the 10, so it's 54 tenths. Okay, times, and then 2 3/4 as a fraction. So pause the video and convert it to a fraction. Remember, I'd like you to show work. So you're gonna go 2/1 and then common denominator. So if you converted that, that should be 11/4. Now we have smaller numbers to actually multiply. If you could see on the top, we need to multiply 54 times 11, and on the bottom we can multiply 10 times 4, but at the end you still have to divide. Now one way a teacher might have said, well, you could reduce first before you start multiplying. So whichever way you prefer, I help you with either. So pause the video and finish letter B on your own. Remember, this at the end becomes division, or you could change it to a mixed number. In anyhow, our answer again has to be close to our estimate or around our estimate. So that's how we know if we're doing it right. And finally, letter C, you do have a decimal times a decimal. So whether you're gonna convert them to fractions, it's your choice, or leave them as decimals and multiply. So finish this problem on your own.